We have a brand new grandbaby, and we are so happy. We thought this was a great opportunity to talk about pronouns. We will use they, them pronouns for our grandchild until they let us know something different. It will all be very natural and normal to be raised in a gender-inclusive environment. Honestly, it is really unnatural not to be, but that is the result of binary thinking that has ingrained itself into society. Let's talk about all of that today.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
Well, hello and welcome to the FreedHearts podcast. We're so glad you're here. My name is Robert Cottrell, and I'm here as always with
Susan Cottrell.
Do we still need to say that? I guess we just can't help it at this point.
Yeah.
Please do share if you would like, subscribe if you would, please, and support if you can. And we have a brand new grandbaby. I couldn't find a sound effect, so that's
pretty good. Do it again. That's pretty good there.
And we are so happy. And we thought that this would be a great opportunity to talk about pronouns. Our child, the mama of the grandbaby, is the one who first came out to us as bisexual and then as gender non-binary. And they now go by Ash or Asher. And they use they, them pronouns. And for the baby, they are mama. Their wife has transitioned to female. Her name is Elle and uses they, them, or she, her pronouns. And she identifies as mommy. I am Papa.
And I'm Suki.
Okay. Anyway, we are thrilled. We all will use they, them pronouns for our grandchild until they let us know something else. It's all up to them. And it really is that simple. And I've really settled with they, them pronouns. We like them, and we don't anticipate this is going to be confusing for the baby in any way. Honestly, it's very natural and normal to be raised in a gender-inclusive environment. What's not natural and normal is to be raised in a binary environment. But it's become that, or the norm. But that's not the natural way. It's natural to be raised in a gender-inclusive environment. And we are really, really excited about this. Yeah. I mean, can you tell my tempo of my speech is up a little bit fast here? And I'm just really very, very, very excited.
And I just want to say that I know this seems really out there for a lot of people, but it's not. I mean, just as the man in the barbershop who was cutting my dad's hair, and I was sitting in the corner playing quietly, and he decided to be funny and pointed at me and said, "Does that little boy want a haircut?" Oh. And I seethed because I knew I was a girl and he knew that I was a girl. And, why did he have to misgender me on purpose? Yeah, but this... Power.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know. And anyway, but this child will have no trouble saying, "Hey, I'm a girl," or "Hey, I'm a boy," at the appropriate time or something else. And kids are able to say that just fine unless they're shut down for it, which a gender non-binary society does.
Mm-hmm.
But this baby will not be shut down.
Yep.
Yeah. And I find it interesting, and you might be interested to know this too, that they was the default pronoun historically up through Shakespeare. Shakespeare used they pronouns for singular. But then a group of male linguists...
Really?
Yeah, I know. It's surprising. Male linguists decided that he should be the default pronoun because obviously men are better than women. So, by obviously, I mean you're out of your mind.
My ears are burning when you say that.
And, it's been that way ever since until now. I remember in grade school growing up being told that if there's a group of people, a group of children, you can say she if they're all girls, but if there's one boy, you have to use he. I was like,
gosh,
what
really?
the hell is that?
Really?
Yes, really.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So grammar purists, and I've been something of a grammar purist for a good part of my life. Instead of saying, I'm going to use he because that's the correct grammar. Now that you've learned this, you can say, I'm going to use they because that's the correct grammar.
Yeah. Mic drop.
Mic drop.
That's right.
Yeah.
Again, this is normal and natural for our lives now. Was it immediate? No. Were there slip-ups? Of course. But our hearts were in the right place for all of us So we and our child and their wife were very patient, and now it's become normal and natural. And, it's not difficult if you just give yourself some time here, if you're trying to make this kind of change. And the bottom line, this is not those on the other side of this issue try to make it about a lot of things, but it's not. The bottom line here is that it's a matter of respect for the person you're talking about, whose pronouns you're using.
Yeah.
And I understand this is difficult for some people, mainly because they don't want to change their habits, first of all. But second, it feels destabilizing to them to use they pronouns. What's the world come to? Enough is destabilized in our world. Don't change gender pronouns. Of course, they already use they pronouns for singular. This is something that people don't really realize that argue this, is that people already use they pronouns for singular. They might say, who left their glasses here? Who left their keys on the table?
Those are both singular.
Right. That's right. They're both singular. And are you waiting for an Uber driver? They're here.
Yeah, we do this already.
That's right. And if the purist, so-called purist, says someone left his keys on the table, oh my gosh, they will get some raised eyebrows. They will, because women have keys also,
It's just strange, isn't it?
And some are going to say, well, pronouns don't matter. What's the big deal? But go ahead and use she for God and watch those same people go ballistic.
Yes, indeed. I was listening to an online course, which was fantastic. There were like 10 teachers, and 2 of them, both older than you and me, women, they're sisters, and very well educated, and they used he as the default pronoun.
Eek.
And I'm telling you, it rubbed me the wrong way the entire time. And I want to send them a little note that says, please, the content of this course is so fresh and great and so deeply personal. And when you say he about something you're talking about, it's jarring and it makes you sound very dated.
Yeah.
That might encourage them to change.
It's funny, as you said that made you uncomfortable. That's how natural they, them has become to us.
Yes.
That we do hear the misuse of gender pronouns, or the, much easier now than we used to.
Yeah, it's true. Although being included in a group of he never really felt great.
Well, that's true.
But yeah, exactly. And it may be difficult. I understand that. It was difficult for us to acclimate to. And I want to say that, our kids are so grace-giving when we make a mistake. And we say, oh, forgive me, we change it. But the thing is, it's not about whether they're grace-giving, which they always are. I think they always are, unless you're just really not trying. But it's that it hurts them. It
stings.
It stings. And it feels like, it brings them back to an old them that they are not.
Yeah.
So the reason you want to work on it is so you don't hurt them.
Yeah.
Good heavens. And I was thinking, that let's say your son was married to let's say your son Jason was married to Janelle for 10 years. Then they divorced and now he's married to Monica. And you say, you know what? I'm going to just call your new wife Janelle. It was that way for 10 years. And Jason and Janelle are just so easy to say. Jason and Monica, it's too hard for me. And I just don't like it. I don't see why you had to divorce Janelle in the first place. And the Bible's clear about divorce. So, I don't really accept the change you made. So I'm going to call your wife Janelle. They would think you're out of your mind. And you would be.
Well, hang on, because I did that. Not to this extent, but when one of our children started dating somebody else after divorce, but several times I called that person by our child's ex-spouse's name.
But it wasn't on purpose.
No, but it still upset them, and hurt them.
It did upset them. It hurt them. That's right.
Right.
And that's more even understandable because, whatever. But you don't want to hurt them that way. And Jason would be right to say, no, you need to get yourself together, if only out of respect for us. And if you want to see us, you need to call my wife, Monica. even if it's hard for you, even if you slip up once in a while. And Jason may say, I know you love Janelle and you wish I hadn't gotten a divorce, but I did for reasons that are none of your business. And you may not even condone divorce. You may believe that once you're married and that's it. But we're divorced. And if you can't do what we're asking you to do, strictly out of respect and out of love for me, then we just won't be willing to see you anymore. And you may think that is extreme, but that is a right position.
Yeah.
They're right to do that.
Well, and there's a big difference. You know, our kids have said to us in this, there's a big difference in knowing that you're trying and you're really doing the work that needs to be done. You're trying hard and your heart is in the right place from this defiant unwillingness to use the correct pronoun or something like that. So you said your children are grace giving, you know, be grace giving to yourself as well.
Yes.
You know, the key is where's your heart in this?
That's right.
And
that's a good word.
And are you putting in the work?
That's it. Because as we said, we've done it many times, but that's, you know, so it is a grace giving thing, you know. And I thought about our friends who, one of them is deaf, a couple, and the other wife learned sign so that they could communicate. And if you as an in-law say, well, I won't learn sign, it's too hard. Okay, you don't have to, but you'll seriously limit. You'll limit. Yeah. That's it. You'll limit the relationship.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and we found it a challenge to change pronouns for Ash and Elle.
Yeah, I mean, it does get easier over time. It does.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to think of the last time we made a big mistake on that. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's what you do. I mean, it's what you do for someone you love. Of course you do it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I wonder when we do these episodes, these podcasts, it's like, it's so common sense, love-centered thing here, other-centered thing here. Of course you do that because it's respect and it's honor and it's love. And again, it's other-focused instead of being selfish and self-focused.
And pulling in the Bible, the big guns, and what God wants and not God's best and all that stuff, is all of that is a justification for you to be right. That's another word for it.
Yeah.
But it's just a way for you to be right.
And it's false. It's false teaching. It's a lie.
It is false.
So I didn't want to go there on that. But anyway, yeah.
And I read a beautiful memoir by Hilary Mantel called Giving Up the Ghost. I learned afterward it's one of the top 50 memoirs in the last 50 years. So it's really, it was really compelling and good. But anyway, she talked about how about the new stepfather and how they were so poor and he was so tight. He watched every coal that went into the fire, but he was so full of pride about it. And she was always cold. And he said, stop sitting so close to the fire, pretending you're cold, pretending she's cold. Hey, I'm a transplanted Texan living in Seattle and I feel cold a lot. And we're not even talking about Michigan or Canada, right? But she was not pretending to be cold. She was just cold. But you know, because he wasn't cold.
Or wasn't admitting he was cold.
Yeah. Right. Then she couldn't, because her saying that, I guess, to him just reminded him of their limited resources.
Yeah.
And he felt bad. So he just said, you know, stop pretending you're cold.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe who knows, he was just pretending not to be cold.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, and trans people are not pretending to be trans.
Right.
Or gender non-binary. It's who they are. Elle described it as this way, that the sex of a person is just the physical markers we can see. And if I can be just very direct here, and that is really just a penis or vagina, okay?
Right.
That's all it is, because we don't see the other things that are going on.
Yeah.
But there may be a whole lot more going on, so it's not that clear.
Like having a vagina and also testicular tissue inside, or having a penis and also ovaries. We can't see that readily.
So sex is just the physical, sex is just the physical markers. Gender is everything else. Hormones, brainwaves, environment, expression, emotions, everything else. And that really none of it fits in any kind of binary box or thinking. Of course not. I mean, pick any two humans on the planet and they don't fit in the same box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So none of it, again, Of course it doesn't fit in a box. And remember that we've talked about this before. The whole God made them male and female scripture is really meant to be a simplistic way to explain the story of creation. Okay? Like you're talking to children here.
Yeah.
And also in the same book of the Bible, it says that God created night and day, but there's dawn and dusk. And God created land and sea, but there are beaches and marshland. And also in the same book, it says God created two lights, one for the day, the sun, and one for the night, the moon. No. No, not how that works. So, of course, again, I'm going to say this a lot during this episode, of course, this is just a simple way to convey a particular story.
We were taking a walk yesterday because we have to walk the new grandbaby. And it was, like 10 a.m. or something. And you looked up and said, "Oh, I see the moon. Wait, the moon is only for night. That's the night light." It was so funny. I was like, I know.
Again, not affirming Christians are going to ignore all those other things as well. Yeah, okay. All right, sure. Those are non-binary. But latch on to the male and female thing. Now, come on now. You're not fooling anyone here, and you're actually revealing your true hearts and motives in this. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they'll say, well, that's different because people are created in God's image. These other things are. I'm like, well, you just made that up. You just added that. Not being created in God's image, but as a reason to be.
Blah, blah,
you just
blah,
made
blah,
that
blah,
up.
blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah,
exactly.
Blah.
So, okay.
Sorry if I sound a little frustrated.
And, it's also like if someone says, well, I'm just going by your birth certificate. That's a red herring. That's like, I'm going by your first marriage certificate too, by calling your new wife by the old wife name. So, yeah. And by the way, Elle did get her name and gender legally changed to reflect her identity. But that hasn't made some family members say, okay, I'll call you Elle now. No, because it was never the reason in the first place. No one says, your birth certificate says Genevieve, so I'm not calling you Jenny. Of course not.
Right.
Or God created your body this way, so we're not getting you glasses. Sorry, stop pretending you can't see.
Of course not.
Of course not. So whatever reason someone may give you not to use your preferred name and pronouns is just an excuse to disregard what you're asking of them. It is an attempt to hide their transphobia and bigotry and hate and pretend that's not what it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, what about this new grandbaby of ours? I'm going to give it. Am I saying that all children should be raised with they, them pronouns? No. Not at all. Our other grandbaby was called she from the very beginning, and we're delighted to do that.
Yep.
Now, most people are cisgender, and the he or she that you first use for them will probably be the pronouns that fit the child. That's just statistics, okay?
Right.
The key, though, is to be open to change. And if the child says, hey, I'm not a boy, I'm not a girl, you hear them. You let trans children tell you who they are. Yeah. They have no problem. They will have no problem telling you if there's room for them to tell you. They will have a huge problem in telling you if they're shut down.
Yeah.
They will not have a choice on who they are. I'm telling you this. They will not have a choice on who they are. The choice is ours on whether or not we hear them when they tell us.
Yeah. And it again comes down to respect.
Yeah.
Are we going to respect them for who they are or not? And let me be very clear. We are not recommending that parents raise their children without gender. And Ash and I were talking about this, Rob. I don't think you were in there. And they said, it's not about removing gender. They were talking about a straight cisgender couple who wanted to raise their baby gender neutral. But that can be just as othering for the baby as anything else, because you don't identify with mommy or daddy. You're just this other thing, from parents who themselves are gendered and who are not intimately involved with the issues around this. So don't just do it because it's the hip thing to do, because it will backfire. Ash said, we're not raising our child without gender. We're raising them gender inclusive. It's about the beauty and the fullness of the rainbow and the diversity of just being human. What a beautiful idea.
I was going to say, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Isn't that, I want to be a gender inclusive adult.
Yes.
And so this is what a gift this is to a child, to raise a child gender inclusive.
Yeah. And this is not confusing to children. It's really not.
No.
Children are so much smarter than we give them credit for. And what's confusing is to tell a child who they, that they aren't who they know themselves to be. That's what's confusing. They're not confused. It's the adults steeped in a gender binary, which is a construct, which, who are confused and maybe, adding in fear of societal and church rejection, all of that they don't want to let it go. That's what's hard for adults.
Yeah. But the bottom line is this. It's to respect the person, love the person, accept the person, honor the person who's asking you to do this.
Yeah.
And you may wonder, well, how do we know if what they're saying is real? If the kids, how do we know if what a child tells us is real?
Yeah. That's a really good question.
And the answer is pretty simple because it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Now you may be successful for a time in stomping it down, squashing it. And those are great words because that's actually what you're doing to their heart in this. But there will be negative consequences for the person because it doesn't disappear.
Yeah. And if, when talking about kids, of course kids play. That's true. Hannah used to play a game where she would come to the door, our door, and knock. And she'd say, "Call me Mary Gold."
I remember that.
Yeah, she'd come to the door, knock, and I'd answer.
Mary Gold.
And she'd answer and say, "Hi, my name is Mary Gold. I'm an orphan. I don't have a place to live. Will you be my mommy?"
I don't want to go into the reasons behind that little game.
And I'd say, "Hello, Mary Gold. Yes, come on in. You can live here." It was adorable. And it quickly faded. And, she didn't stick with it in effect. I mentioned that recently to Hannah, and she said, "Did I do that?" She did, but gender identity as well as orientation is not like that.
It's not like that.
It's not like that. The sense of identity in the trans people that I know have staying power. I know 60-year-olds who have finally come out as trans or gay or gender non-binary, despite having had a straight marriage and children, because it never went away. God knows they tried.
Now, if Hannah had continued to say, I really want to change my name to Mary Gold, then we would have had a conversation about that.
Yeah. And if she had become depressed or lethargic or suicidal about it, you bet we'd have let her change her name. And I hope we would have heard her long before it got to that point. But gender, is certainly broader and deeper than the game Hannah played and more all-encompassing. But it's the same foundational issue of listening and hearing and respecting that what the person's telling you is real. What they're telling you about themselves, they know themselves better than we know them.
And I will say, too, that we talked about if we had missed that or if it had taken a long time, there would have been consequences. That happens. Again, we want to, knowing the impact of that kind of rejection and that kind of stomping and squashing down, I think we always want to err on the side of inclusiveness and accepting and affirming it instead of no. That's like an arrow to the heart every time.
And here's the thing that people don't understand. What you resist persists. And when you say no, that's not true. Because people will say all the time, "How do I know if this is a phase?" I'll tell you how. You go with it. If it's a phase, it will fall away. Just like the Mary Gold thing. If it's a phase, it will fall away. But if it's not, then you're not accepting something very tender and important to a child. Very important. Who they are. So by contrast to Hannah, Kai Shapley began telling...
I love Kai.
Love Kai. Began telling her mother at 3 years old, "I'm not a boy, I'm a girl." Her mother would say, "No, you're a boy," because this was new to her.
Yeah. And
she was in a non-affirming church, and she didn't know what else to do. But driving it down did not stop Kai from knowing, and at that very early age, that she was a she. And her mother, Kimberly, they're very public. They're all over the place.
Yeah,
so,
if you want to look for her story, it's Kai, Kai, and she's all over the place.
Shapley, yeah.
Shapley.
So I'm not outing her about anything.
No. They're very public and have an amazing story.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. She said she realized this was very serious the first time, wouldn't go away, when Kai started saying, I want Jesus to take me to heaven so I can come back and be a girl.
Oh.
Talk about, I have chills just saying that now, much less if your child said it to you. And her mother thought, this sounds pre-suicidal. And she was right about that. And so she educated herself, and she let Kai transition at great cost to the mom and her marriage and her community.
Yeah.
Lots of ways she was made to pay for that.
Yeah.
But she has her child, and her child is very happy.
Oh my gosh. Her child is an inspiration, been featured in some documentaries. She speaks often to government bodies and officials and just making a huge impact. And I just saw on her social media that she has a lot of things called #transjoy. So, and she's a very, very happy child. So
you, by embracing it, you will not cement it. You will let it become what it was meant to be.
Right. Or
by resisting it, you will break your child.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's excellent. All right, beloved. Well, it comes down to respect. It comes down to listening.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I had this wave of a sense of people who that ship has sailed already, and they have children that they did not accept it as it was. And all I can say is if your child's still here, to press into loving and affirming and apologize for how you first did it, and it was based on what you knew. You did what you knew, and once you've apologized and they've said, "I understand, I forgive you," then let it go. Let it go down the river. It's done, and just love your child well. But you need a lot of grace, because we're steeped in a gender binary culture, and our churches these kinds of churches are very gender binary and harmful. So give yourself a lot of grace when you need to. When you know better, you do better. But if this is new, I'm giving you the news now so you can do better now.
Yeah, that's good. Excellent point. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Again, it comes down to respect and listening with your heart and believing their lived experience and trusting that the person knows what's right for them better than you do. That's kind of foundational to what it means to love someone, isn't it?
Yes.
Is this a new thing? Yeah. Like you said, for many of us, it is. Is it easy? At times, no. Is it complex and layered? Yes, it is. But do the people we're talking about, usually our own children or loved ones, deserve to be loved for exactly who they are without condition? Do I need to even answer that? Again, of course they do. Of course they do. And beloved, that's what makes this whole thing really clear and pretty simple. We love you. Go love and be loved. It's what you deserve.
We love you.
We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday, so I call you up and you call me down? Would it be okay?
You've been listening to the FreedHearts podcast. We have extensive resources and vibrant community for you at www.freedhearts.org. Just come say hello. And if you have questions or issues or comments about the podcast, things you'd like us to talk about, reach out to us at podcast@freedhearts.org. The music is provided by Hannah Cottrell, our daughter, the Grammy-nominated Saint Sinner, and you can find out more about her at heysaintsinner.com. Please share this, subscribe, and follow on your favorite platform, and thanks for listening.